This is the tale of Mr. Placebo. There was once a boy named Billy, and he was very lonely. None of the other children would play with him. He was quiet and shy, but had a lot to give. He tried to make friends, but they never quite understood him. Billy would play by himself, all alone. One day, his imagination got carried away. Out of this came an innocent idea, an imaginary friend. A friend to make him feel better, Mr. Placebo. Mr. Placebo was not like you and I. He was made out of necessity. A companion for Billy, the two became inseparable. Billy seemed to love Mr. Placebo, and Mr. Placebo loved him. They would stay out all day playing in the park. They would get into all kinds of mischief, as best friends do. That was until one fateful day, Billy was invited to play with real children. Mr. Placebo watched as Billy turned away. Things would never be the same again. Mr. Placebo couldn't understand. How could he leave me, he thought. Did I mean nothing to him? This thing that had been given imaginary life could not cope with his world being turned upside down. He felt lost and without purpose. He turned to drugs and other things he wasn't proud of. He would watch from the gutter as children would pass. They reminded him of Billy. He still could not believe it. The boy who once needed him had replaced him with real friends. He drank and drank and drank some more. Mr. Placebo would sit by himself, all alone. One day, his imagination got carried away. Out of this came an ironic idea. An imaginary friend. A friend to make him feel better. Mr. Rebound. A companion for Mr. Placebo, the two became inseparable. Mr. Rebound seemed to love Mr. Placebo, and Mr. Placebo loved him. Mr. Placebo would tell him stories about Billy and how great he was. They would stay up late talking, and Mr. Rebound would find himself unable to sleep in wonder. Time began to heal Mr. Placebo, or so he thought. One fateful day, they ran into Billy. He seemed to be everything that Mr. Rebound imagined. Being starstruck from all Mr. Placebo's stories, Mr. Rebound reached out to Billy. Mr. Placebo watched as they walked away, with disbelief at what had happened. The very friend he had confided in, who he created, had turned his back on him too. Mr. Placebo had never felt like this. The anger was even more unbearable than before. Enough was enough. He returned to the scum of the city, but this time for something else. As he held the gun in his hand, a sense of power returned to his pitiful existence. If I have no one, why should anyone else? He thought. It was time to kill them. He tracked them down at Billy's house and forced his way in. They were horrified. They held each other as he pointed a gun at them, shaking manically. After screaming into their trembling eyes, he began to doubt his actions. To Mr. Placebo, there was only one way to solve this torment. He raised the gun to his own head and pulled the trigger. Now, Mr. Placebo was finally free.